let's give our AI a couple of eyes. We want our AI to start chasing us if he sees us. So we're going to give him sight perception. So first off, we want to open the AI controller. So let's go to AI folder, classic, AIC classic, and add a component called AI perception. AI perception right here. Now this is a great system that Unreal has built in, and we can add different senses for our AI to have. If we hit the plus button, it creates a new one, currently set to none, but we have these options: damage, hearing, prediction, sight, team, and touch. These are all different ways that AI can perceive things that happen in the world. So first, what we're first going to just use is AI sight configuration. We can also set this to his dominant sense, AI sense sight, although it won't matter too much for us. All right, so let's open up 0 right here, sense, and it's automatically set us to sight. And we have our sight radius here, which is the maximum sight distance to notice a target, so 3,000 units in front of our AI. Our lose sight radius is essentially once our character has been spotted, the sight radius increases from 3,000 to 3,500, so it's a little harder to get away from an AI that's already spotted you than it is to actually be seen by an AI, if this makes sense. It also has our peripheral vision, which is how far to the side the AI can see. 90 might be a bit more realistic, but I'm going to change it to 45 to make it a little easier on ourselves. So he has a 45-degree angle of sight. Detection by affiliation, we have enemies, neutrals, and friendlies. We're not going to set up what is an enemy, a neutral, and a friendly to our AI, so we're just going to check all of these so it detects all of them. Because for our system, we don't really, he's not going to have neutrals or friendlies, so the only one it'll detect is you. And that's it for now. If we compile and save and hit play, if we hit the apostrophe button on our keyboard and hit the 4 button, we can now see the cone of vision that comes from our AI character. He's facing away from us now, but here we go. And it's kind of hard to see the range of his vision because it goes out so far that we can't really see it. So if we go to our controller and we change the sight radius down to something drastic like 250, so something really small. So if we try again, hit play, and then apostrophe, and then we hit the 4 key, should be able to see his cone. Oh, there we go. It wasn't working for some reason. The keys on my top weren't working, so I had to use the numpad to the right of my keyboard. Not really sure why. Don't think that's ever happened before, but it's working now. So we're getting this cone of vision. See if we can back up a bit. So you can see these 2 lines emitting from where he's looking. Oh. Okay, so this is actually something good to point out. He was able to go up there because that's in the circle of this room's radius, and I still have yet to put a collision on these bars. So once I do that, he will not be able to go up there because it will no longer be navigable. Same with these bars. But I'll get to that in a second. But you can see how his cone, this circle around him is the 250 distance we changed it to, and those 3 lines coming out of his face is the angle we can see him. So you would have to be inside that angle and inside the ring for him to be able to see you. You see that I walked in. It has a little sight meter, and it gives us the age, how long it's been there. But it only works if you're inside this cone and inside the ring. This is him seeing the other AI, but it doesn't really matter to distinguish between us because he detects everybody, friendlies, enemies, and neutrals. So before we continue, I'm going to finally add collision on these because I forget every single episode. So I'm just going to put a cube in here, And this is a pretty hacky way of just fixing it really quick, but I just gotta do it at this point and then bring it back just slightly. And then I want to make sure the collision preset is set to block all, so everything is blocked. And then I'm just going to go to visible and uncheck visible. So now there is a collision there, you can see, because I can no longer walk through it. All right, let me just do the same for this real quick. All right, and we finally added collision to these two fences, or gates I should say. Now the AI will not be able to walk up these stairs, even though it is in the radius, because if we hit P, you can see that it is no longer connected, so he has no way to get over there. All right, so got a little backtracked there, but we still explained the cone of vision. We're gonna go back into the controller. We're gonna increase this back to 3000, so he has a good long ring of sight, and we need him to actually do something when he spots us. We need to add an event so we can actually do something after the AI spots us. So if we go to AI perception right here, right click, add event, and we have this one called on target perception updated. So when it perceives something successfully, this will be called. And the actor, we are just going to cast to L1 character so that everything off here will only be fired if it's us that we perceived and not, for example, this guy right here. And we can test this by printing a string that just says AI classic saw character. And let's make the duration like 5 seconds, 45, whatever. We're gonna get rid of it in a second anyway. All right, so to even test it even further, we can hit apostrophe and then 4, and he saw the player. And you can see he's seeing us right now. We just went out of his line of sight because he turned around. I'm gonna undo the apostrophe so we can see the print string, which doesn't look like it came up. So let's make sure this works. Oh no, it did. So AI saw character, it's right there, and it continues to see us, and then we leave, and you know, the string will stay up there for 45 seconds, so there's no use in waiting it out. But we know that we can successfully add code after the AI sees our character. So now that we know how it works, I'm going to actually decrease the sight radius to about 1000, just because we're in an interior, and then lose sight radius. It could be the same thing, or maybe something like 1250. Doesn't matter too much. And I'm gonna increase the peripheral just a bit to about 75, so it feels a bit more natural. And we need a Boolean in our Blackboard. So let's go to our behavior tree, go to Blackboard, add a key of type bool, and this will be, of course, can see player. Boolean that will be in pretty much every AI you'll ever make. Just kidding, I have no idea. All right, so before we implement that in the behavior tree, we can just go back to AIC Classic and set it to true after he sees us. So we will get a reference to ourself because this is the controller, and off of this we will get the Blackboard that we are using, and we need to set value as bool, of course. And what key are we setting? Obviously we are setting our can see player. Now we need to type this in, so I'm just going to copy it and paste it to make sure I get it exactly correct. So off of key name, I will get a make literal name, just allows us to type it in, and I will paste it, can see player. And we want it to be true, because once it sees us, we want the can see player boolean to be true. Now, if we go into our behavior tree, we can add another sequence, and this sequence will be what happens when we can see the player. And now since we actually have our bool, we can add the decorators. So I'll right click, add decorator Blackboard, and I'll click on this, and the Blackboard key we want is can see player, and we want it to be is set on this one. So if we can see the player, it'll go off this. Now let's do the same on this sequence, right click decorator Blackboard, and we want the Blackboard key to be can see player, and we want it to be not set. So if we cannot see the player, it'll go down this path. Of course, we need a way for us to, when the Boolean is changed, go back up to the selector and select the other one, or in more proper terms, go back up to the selector and then check the Boolean to go down which one. So we need to change the observer aborts to both on both. So first thing we want to do when it can see the player is we want to take this task, BT set speed, and we want to change the speed to 450. So it goes from a walking speed of 225 to a running speed of 450. Next, we need to get the player's location.
So unfortunately, some of the footage got a little messed up, and we don't actually have the part where I created this new task called Find Player Location. But if we open it up, it's very simple. We just get our player character's actor location, set it to a Blackboard value as a vector, just like the last one, and then we just tell the owner controller to do a simple move to location and finish execute.
The name of this is now a bit misleading. It's not only finding the player location, but it is finding and chasing the player. It takes in a key, if you remember, and we need that to be the target location, and it'll set that location and go to the location. All right, so we can test it out. So as soon as he sees us, he should chase us. So he's in the other room right now, wandering. And he sees us, and he switches to running and starts chasing us. And it is honestly quite terrifying, which is good because we were making a horror game. But yes, I was terrified, and I might have jumped out of my seat just a little bit. Lastly, let's just have him go back to wandering once we're out of sight, which is of course a little unrealistic. He wouldn't just immediately go back to his tasks if he no longer can see us, but we will get to a better way of working around that in a later episode. So let's go to the controller, AIC Classic, and we have the stimulus output right here, and we just want to break it. And this has a bunch of different parameters for our stimulus, like how long the stimulus has existed, the location, the receiver location, and successfully sensed. And we only want this set valuable can see player to true if we successfully sensed. So we'll get a branch off this. And for now, if it's false, so if it does not successfully sense our player, we're just going to set this bool to false. So I'm just going to copy and paste all this. Of course, we could do this with less nodes with a select node right here, but we're going to be updating this later, so it's fine this way. So we're just going to change the bool value to false if we are not successfully sensing the player. So to test this out, it's a little hard in such a small space because he chases you so well. So I'm going to change his run speed when he chases us to 225 as well, just so it'll be a little easier to get away from him because it'll be going slower. So you can see he sees us immediately and he's chasing us. But as soon as we get out of sight, he should go back to wandering. So I'm going to just go around him real quick, and I'm going to sprint up the stairs, and I'm going to get out of sight. And he's gone back to wandering. You see he's gone into the room, he's wandering, he's not chasing us. Of course, as soon as he sees us again, he will chase us, and the cycle continues. There we go, he's chasing us now. It's a little harder to tell when he doesn't switch to sprinting. As you can see, as long as we stay in sight, he will chase us no matter where we are. Alright, so that works really well. This is starting to become a much more fleshed out AI. That is it for this episode. In the next one, we're going to improve a bit of the switching back and forth between chasing us and patrolling to make it a bit more natural, a bit more human, since no one would just go back to patrolling immediately after that. So I will see you then.